Hello and welcome to Phantom Does another ramble, although hopefully I'm not going to ramble too much. I'm so glad those GIFs aren't playing auto. I don't know why it isn't in the chat, but there we go. Anyway, distracted already. So I'm trying to not go over the purpose of like the use of gear, although I will have to touch on it to say why and when. But generally speaking, I'm talking about when to buy gear. So, like, I have 9,500 diamonds on this account at the moment, and I will pick on Gianluca, who has a they changed the star system, so what am I going to call it? It's the yellow starburst background or gold starburst background and 1 star. So that becomes available at 92-ish. And the 31%, let's go and compare it to someone in Fight Club or Arena or something. Arena. Top of the division. Hopefully we'll have a Gatling gun. There you go. So comparing that to the 41% of a max Gatling gun, like, again, I don't want to go into that ramble, but it is a 10% difference across probably about 10 stars. Probably sounds about right to be 1% per. But more the idea that if you compare 30% damage that I've got on Gianluca, especially of his fight power, which 47 billion, actually go and do the maths, times, well, roughly a third, and then across his second damage skill, which hits all enemies, which is up to 5, could do a lot of bleeding damage. And the difference of having something like a Gatling gun on, admittedly a fully awakened, well, all nodes unlocked, all level 4 plus, Gianluca is maybe a extreme fight power example for most people, but even on someone who had like 10 billion fight power, it's a lot of damage that you're missing out on if you don't have the Deluxe gear. So other good examples for weapons are the Shrink Ray, which 16% fight power doesn't sound like that much, and maybe this is one of the better examples to go against buying lots early and choose specifically maybe Tense as a better example, because at least he's hitting 3 people with 17%. That's also 1 per. And you've got to remember that he already has the fight power reduction of 75%. So nerf the Shrink Ray is probably the less good example, but even in the less good example, it's still impactful. And obviously, I'll mention my favourite being Plasma Blaster and how much that does. But for me, that means that we've just said, well, weapons, yes, good, we like weapons. So there's that element to it. 1 second, I'm just going to take a drink. Okay. Then for armor, we have 31% dodge. Again, there's plenty of other videos that I've done explaining how good dodge is and how good that effectively is. Also, it's interesting on Android, that space between buy and 31% is so big. Anyway, but again, let's pick Gladiator's armor. Have I got one on Tense? I do indeed. Again, the maxed out version, a much higher percentage, is you know, it is significant and eventually going to want to replace this. But the point is you have that advantage as early as it's street rank 92 is when this oh, he's all got 2 stars, of course he has. This 1-star gold background starburst is not street rank 92 from memory. It's always one of these. It depends when you hit that new street rank and when the shop refreshes. The advantage to buying gear, like on this account where I've started buying it at 92, versus buying it at, say, later, is obviously I've invested the diamonds, but by investing the diamonds, I feel like I've made myself more useful in PvP right here, right now, and by the time I get to, let's use Raven's example of 148, sure, I want to replace my gear, but in the meantime, I've had the benefit of the gear, and I don't need to buy 17 Gatling guns. It's just when they come up in the mystery shop. I don't even know what I'll go in the mystery shop today. Probably nothing useful, no. But say there was one for 50% off, I'd be like, yes, I'll go grab a 50% off Gatling gun because it can replace one, and then I can do what I describe as like hand-me-downs. So Tomo, Gianluca, and then it could go on to someone like Javier or Mitsukuni to make good use of the fact that you've still got them. But I wouldn't buy one for those star capos. I'm only sort of looking at, on this account, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, sort of 8 capos that I'd purchase gear for specifically. And then I'd worry about purchasing like replacements later. Yes, Wild Rag is definitely great at all. Hold on, where's my low Wild Rag? Not intense, Gianluca. Yeah, Gianluca's one is the rank below. Still offers 19% dodge in PvP, so it's great. Do I have a third one? Possibly not. Sorry for the screen flashing across. Yeah, so that 19% one's the lowest one. Got the other one on Miranda. I suppose whilst I'm here, classic revolver is around rank 80, 82, 85 is a bit... it's like some people say it's the must-have thing. I'm solidly in the camp of, 15% fight power is better than nothing, but like I wouldn't stress about missing it if you've already missed it. If you're already at that rank, go ahead. But for Raven's example, rank 41, rank 148, I would definitely have gear on at least my top. Again, depends how many capos you've got, but for on this account, if I was rank 148, I'd have it at least Tomo, Miranda, Godfather, Ava, Tense, Gianluca, Chiu, CMV. And then everyone else would just have gear that happens to be shared across. Wild Rag on Chiu's not a bad idea. For me, Wild Rag is focused on the mythicals, anyone who's awakened, good examples. They tend to get the most benefit. So the only thing I haven't touched on is rings. And let me go and find... where's my Deluxe ring hiding? I have no idea. Maybe even in the stash. So... no, it means it's equipped to someone. Let's go play Hunting the Ring. Oh, it's going to be so much fun. I apologise for all the screen flashing. But I need to go and find it. There you go, it's on Tense. Well, that wasn't too bad. So the special gear... oh, hopefully I've got one in the gang shop. Let's just use this one. So the cowboy rings, cowboy vests, and the double barrel shotguns generally lose a lot of value. So this adding 43k fight power is entirely irrelevant. And the only reason I've got it equipped is because it gives me 15% crit chance, which probably isn't even that relevant anyway. So that's probably still a dubious equip. But the general... Again, let me just quickly see if I've got one in the gang shop. I don't. Do I have one in the special shop? I do. Excellent. So even if this ring was 160 out of 160, it would add maybe a million fight power, maybe a few million fight power. But when my capos are in the billions of fight power, this ring provides nothing in terms of fight power. 14% shield is still somewhat useful, but I find it much harder to justify that 800 diamonds spent on that to say, oh yeah, for a 14% shield. If I saw one in the 50% off in the shop, I still probably would turn it down. But you could at least justify the plasma shield rings or the knuckle rings for the crit chance, but let's say the ring of wealth, essentially useless. It becomes useful at about rank 140, where you get the extra gear background colour. So let me just go have a quick look in Arena again. There's got to be someone near the top of here that will have it. Let's just go down 10 pages. Go hunt for myself. Oh, I found myself. There you go, look at that. So the gear that starts at this gemmed background, that is when rings start to offer into the 1 billion or 900 million, I think it is, for the 1-star gem-studded background frame thing. So we need to find a better way of describing those gear. But that appears at street rank 140, 144, 148, that kind of region. And that is when rings start to become useful to purchase, because as you can see, this one, which is the max stars for that tier, offering 9 billion, but because of Awakening offers 17. Let's go and have a look at CMV, better example. So that ring is offering 30 billion fight power, which, compared to my Gianluca example on this account, who only has 47 billion by himself as a total, if I could add another 30 billion just from a ring, it shows you how much of a difference rings make. So it is rings, again, I wouldn't go and purchase a ton of them at rank 140, but that's when I'd start to look to pick them up. So 92 plus when you get these, when you first get the yellow starburst background gear is when I start purchasing weapons and armor, and rings about 140. Wild rag is the only thing that's useful in the necklace slot, and you can't buy them, so I'm ignoring that slot. So hopefully that sort of answered the when question, even if it's as simple as 92 and 140, except it's really much more of a, I wouldn't go and purchase 500 Gatling guns at rank 92. I'd purchase a couple, and then I'd do hand-me-downs just when they're 50% off in the shop, or there's a particularly, I really want a new one, or like the shrink rays, there's very few capos that are good to them on, so I wouldn't buy a ton of them, but if you do see them off, I'd definitely purchase them. Same with gear, armor even. Like, having one agent's armor hanging around is great. Having 10 of them starts to having very, very high diminishing returns. In fact, I'd argue even as soon as you go over sort of 2 or 3, diminishing returns is definitely there.